Alright. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the most controversial series of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. So that's right, the World Championship just happened, and if it wasn't for this match, the tournament would have been completely different. It was one of the craziest results we've ever seen in the tournament, and it all started in this match in the quarterfinals between Serral, representing Basilisk Esports, and RagnaroK down here in the bottom right side. Now, RagnaroK is a beast. He's a very scary, aggressive Zerg player, someone I look up to because his builds seem very attainable for a regular average Show Zerg to play. Really good timing attacks, really clever ways of getting momentum, and avoiding being put in those really high-pressure situations where a guy like Raynor or Dark, blitzing fast, or a Serral might be able to get out of trouble off their mechanical speed. RagnaroK avoids those situations because he's not as fast as them, but he is clever and he is nasty. Now, I'll talk more about how this affected the whole tournament as we go on. For now, I'm just going to cast the match Hatchgas pool for Serral and Hatchgas pool for RagnaroK. But you've got to hang around for this, because this all comes off the back of course, not only Serral being a massive favorite versus Maru, RagnaroK being a massive favorite in other certain matchups, but the result of this match affects everything else. So I'll talk about that at the end of the match, and we'll talk a little bit about the controversy as well around this match. For now, let's talk about the context. RagnaroK destroyed his group, beating Dark in Zerg vs. Zerg dominantly, 2-0. Even after he failed a carapace timing in one of his games, he just did really good Ling run buys and just kept up the aggression and the multi-prong and was really clever in his positioning and won a game where most players would have lost. He was definitely at a disadvantage, still 2-0 Dark. On the other hand, Serral has so far lost every match he's played against a Korean Zerg in this tournament. He had to fight his heart out just to survive the group stage. He was down after losing to DRG 1-2 and Solar, I believe, also 1-2. He lost both of those series. He looked like he was really struggling. I mean, DRG did one of the coolest strategies I've ever seen, by the way, and he literally did a giant Ling drop and sniped a hive. Like, come on, that was the coolest thing ever. Got the better of Serral in that match. But yeah, it definitely feels like Serral, he said, I haven't been practicing ZVZ. A lot of him and Raynor both said, look, we practice against each other in tournaments, so we haven't been practicing. So Serral and Raynor both went into this tournament saying, I don't want to practice too much and give away my builds. I'm going to kind of just keep everything secret, and hopefully ZVZ will just be okay. But the Koreans actually seem to this time around be way better practiced and more on point. So going into this quarterfinal match where Serral barely slipped out of groups, he looked shaky, but then he destroyed Beyond 3, in the previous round. He looked really good. He goes into this match now just looking like, okay, maybe he's regaining that form, but can he be confident? Because RagnaroK looked confident in ZVZ, Serral did not. But Serral is Serral, and overall he is just such a higher level player in terms of performances that he should be the overwhelming favorite, even despite that shaky form. That one day in the group stage where he lost those two matches, hopefully that was just a one-off for the Serral fans. Now he's actually going to go for some big Ling Bane pressure here. RagnaroK going for a Baneling Nest. The big thing that Serral struggles with is he's very front-on focused, and ZVZ really favors players that backstab. He also often overcommits to timing attacks and doesn't transition out of them well, would be his one big weakness in this matchup. That being said, he picks such good timing attacks usually and gets a lot of free wins because of it. Nice Ling surround coming in. Oh, the Lings slip out. Oh, Serral should have gone for the Queens there. He could have got the Queens, but he lets them and the Lings get away a little bit. Now he's going to get one of the Queens anyway and does pull back at the last second. Good Baneling detonation. He can get that Queen as well. Oh my God, Serral is all over it. RagnaroK really slipping up. The Queen, she gets back to the mineral line. The drone's forced to fight here, but good defense by RagnaroK. Serral pulling on back. Probably could have continued in there for a little bit more damage. He has a big Ling advantage, especially if he gets that Queen. This Baneling could get a big boomy in the drone line. Oh, good micro. Notice the Queen's tried to focus it. Oh, he's going to get a big one. Oh, but he doesn't actually end up getting the big hit. That Baneling detonating, only getting a few units, but more of them are coming in. Serral keeping it up behind this. He's droning like a madman. It feels like Serral is just leaning overwhelming mechanical pressure on RagnaroK. Remember I said RagnaroK doesn't like these situations. He's not as fast as the other guys. The APM tab says 600, but I guarantee that is nowhere near as the 400 APM of Serral. That is way more effective. Actions per minute does not tell us anything about how effective those actions are, and Serral's gained a small lead for himself. But RagnaroK's turn to counterattack. A few Lings coming across. Two of them try to sneak into the main base. Queen says nope. Serral with a very good shutdown on the door. Up to 3 gases now is Serral as the dust settles. He's up 2 workers. RagnaroK's done a pretty good job of not over defending, actually. He's going +1 range himself, while Serral's going Carapace. Oh, watch out, Serral! Serral! Oh my god, Serral's microing in a really dicey way right now. That is the sort of micro where you can make one small mistake and everything goes doo-doo. Oh, the Banelings both survived on 1 hit point. Serral's got to be annoyed at that. Baneling ends up getting 4 Zerglings there. Serral's coming in with these Lings. He's going to go after the drones on the 3rd. Good choice. Those Banelings going to make it very hard for RagnaroK to defend. Good Baneling hits. And he gets 1, 2. Can he get 3 and 4 drones? Looks like he might be able to. 3 drones going down. 10 roaches already on the way behind this. RagnaroK taking that damage is going to be keen to hold down the drone key afterwards, but that would be the wrong call. RagnaroK does not know about the roaches. We're watching from RagnaroK's camera right now, trying to defend, He's trying to just hold the wall. He's building his own roaches. He's down 6 workers right now. If he goes nothing but roaches, he might be all right. But notice RagnaroK is almost supply blocked. He starts up a drone. He still has not seen the roaches. They haven't moved out yet, but they're all popping. Serral's going to move out in about 10-15 seconds. RagnaroK is droning, and now he sees it. There we go. Oh god, RagnaroK is going to poop the pants right now. He's got to frantically get together a defense, but he's so behind from the early aggression. He's got to do some magic. The Lings instantly snake around, go for the backstab. Great move by RagnaroK. Nice surround on those Zerglings, but a few of the roaches come back, and Carapace is almost done, which of course will make the Lings of Serral way stronger than his Lings. As Lingbane does turn around, it's ready to come in for a bit of a backstab. He's going to try and pull Serral's attention away from him. He's going to have +1 range, but of course the +1 Carapace cancels that out in the Roach vs. Ling interaction. Oh, he gets a big Baneling, but Serral has so many more Zerglings that it might not matter. Roach vs. Roach on the front, and it looks like RagnaroK actually has the better end of this trade. RagnaroK, does he though? Oh, it's a lot of Roaches, man. This is a very close fight. The problem is when Serral's Lings start rallying in, that's where RagnaroK might get overwhelmed. It feels like he's held on though. RagnaroK the beast. There is a lot more Lings. These Lings still running circles. RagnaroK did such a good job of keeping Serral's Lings on that side of the map. And that is a beautiful move. RagnaroK even droning here. I think he's still going to be worried about the next wave. I feel like Serral could still commit to another wave of aggression. And what do we got? Lings coming forwards as well. Oh, Ling's going to come in for a nice run by there. RagnaroK being an absolute nuisance with these Lings. Finally, they're getting cleaned up. Serral is thinking about shoving the front with his Lings, but probably not the best idea. Good Overlord vision there. Baneling's going to sneak in that right side. Serral's got an Overlord. He sees it, but he doesn't see it, if you know what I mean. He gets a vision of it and doesn't pay attention. Big mistake. Does lose 4 drones. Luckily, those other drones popped out just a second later. Otherwise, they would have gone down as well. Serral was distracted, focusing on his Ling micro on the other side of the map. Now, Serral's going for +1 range, and he's actually going to go... Yeah, okay, Roach Speed does... I was like, dude, has he skipped Lair? But no, his Roach Speed starts. RagnaroK's Lair very far behind. RagnaroK's up a couple of drones, though. Really felt like off this early game, Serral should have been able to kill him with that push, but the Lings just did such a good job of running around. The big Baneling hit on the Zerglings, especially. Buying him a bit of time. RagnaroK, is he actually committing to this? He's doing a big Roach Zergling attack. He's actually up in workers right now. This is not the time for him to be fighting. He doesn't know that, though. Oh, no. So he's going across this map right now. Serral, oh my god, so many Zerglings trying to kill one Ravager. Ridiculous. They take so long to die. The Roach is shoving in. But +1 is not quite finished for Serral, but he's got so many units. It doesn't matter. RagnaroK's got to get out of there. The Ling surround is deadly. Oh, I think RagnaroK just thought Serral was being super greedy and that he could kind of scare him with this move out. He did not count on getting surrounded, but when your opponent has such a mass of Lings like that, you cannot take that risk. RagnaroK takes it, and Serral takes game 1. A nice way to start the series there for Serral. Lingbane pressure to really put the stress on his opponent into a Carapace attack. And I think this is smart, because RagnaroK is such a tricky guy, and you know he might gamble really hard versus you, pull out a really weird build. I also think Serral might be a bit afraid of Mutalisk tech. Mutas, DRG beat him with them. I'm not sure if Solar did Mutas at all against Serral, but Serral has always hated Mutalisks because he feels like if someone gambles, plays a bit greedy, and goes Mutas, it's incredibly hard for you to play catch up against that. But if you just go for a big attack, you can often kill the guy who's trying to play Mutas, and as a result, Serral often just commits to those big attacks if he anticipates Mutas, or he thinks it just has a pretty good chance of catching his opponent being greedy. So he tried it in game 1, got a nice victory there in this best of 5. RagnaroK, I don't think he did too bad in that last game, and I think if he didn't move across the map like he did at the end, he was up in drones. He very well could have just played that out in a longer game, but moving across at that moment, it allowed Serral with his less economy, bigger army to get the perfect fight. Whereas if you wait on your side, those Lings are not that scary. The bigger the Roach battle gets, the worse those early game Zerglings of Serral's become. So just turtling up and playing the late game was the way to do it. Ling speed starts up for both sides. Oh, actually, sorry, no Ling speed for RagnaroK. There we go. About 3 seconds difference between the two of them. And 2 workers on gas for RagnaroK and 2 workers on gas for Serral. So very similar in terms of play. I've got that drone moving out to that left side. Now that Overlord is there. He's got another Overlord up here as well. Third base will be going down for RagnaroK slightly earlier. That was more like a 28 or 30 hatch, whereas Serral going for the hatch slightly later and actually building another 2 Zerglings, interestingly. I guess that's just to defend his base. RagnaroK will get a slight worker lead on this one, as he's a bit quicker to build those drones afterwards. Baneling Nest comes down for Serral very early, very respectful Baneling Nest for Serral, not taking any risks. And these Lings gonna poke in, start hitting that Baneling Nest, but 2 Lings are out there as well, and Serral will easily deflect that. He's building another 2 Zerglings though, is Serral. That's interesting. I think he's anticipating RagnaroK doing some sort of Ling Flood. He's playing extra safe while RagnaroK, he's gonna build 4 more Lings. The idea is you wanna have some Lings ready to morph into Banes when the Baneling Nest finishes. But RagnaroK's got the 3rd Queen on the way, while Serral does not. Serral's bringing a Queen out the front. He's got another Overlord, and he is taking a slight worker lead, whereas extra Lings being built for RagnaroK. Looks like he's the one who wants to apply some very light pressure this game. He's going to go for an Evo Chamber behind it. This map has a nice tight choke point on the natural. Expect an Evo Chamber to go down for Serral in the near future as well. Royal Blood's a pretty good map, just in terms of its general, you know, fairness. Decent medium rush distance. It's not crazy long, not crazy short, nothing too special about it. Banelings do morph defensively. RagnaroK also has morphed a few Banelings. He's got 1 at the 3rd base. And the Queen in the wall off, blocking Serral's Zergling Scout, but Serral not throwing any Lings away, being very, very efficient. Lings poking up the front here. Roach Horn does go down as well. Serral's hitting that one in the back, and Carapace goes down for RagnaroK. He then cancels it and starts +1 range. Interesting. Meanwhile, Serral goes for Carapace. Wow. Okay, guys. Serral is playing the exact opening twice in a row. I mean, he didn't go for the Ling Bane aggression. So, I mean, but it's the same push. The same Carapace push where you're going to go for about 10 Roaches, a big mass of Lings, maybe some Banes. It's a very committed attack, and I wonder if he just feels like, hey, RagnaroK's not solid enough to defend this. This is one of the more well-rounded pushes. This can punish him if he's greedy, but RagnaroK so far slightly out on work. He's going for a lair, +1 range, his own Roach Horn coming up. And I believe Serral is... Oh, he's still droning. Serral's going 48 workers. That's too many for this push, isn't it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's go to RagnaroK's vision. 4 Roaches start up, but doesn't seem like it's a big enough commitment to go super aggressive for Serral. Is he trying the Reyna fake out? So Reyna has a build where he'll go like 5, 6 Roaches, move across the map with a few Lings, scare the crap out of Serral, and then do it. Notice how Serral's natural's undersaturated, and he's rallied out to that 3rd. So he keeps transferring drones over there to make it really look like he's actually droning up when he's not. Oh my. And 10 more drones are coming out for RagnaroK, but it's already such a high worker count for Serral, whereas normally you do this off 40 to 45 drones. I guess occasionally 50 drones, but it still seems like a lot in this situation. Now, Serral's going up to 13 Roaches. He'll be moving out in the near future. If he can pull RagnaroK's attention away, that would be brilliant. RagnaroK is going for Roaches, Roach Speed, +1, and Aspire. This should potentially be a killing blow. I mean, you're down, what, 16 workers? That should be enough to defeat your opponent with this push, but Serral's waiting a surprisingly long amount of time to move across the map. I actually think too long. I think Serral's waiting too long on this push. RagnaroK dancing around, does get a decent Baneling hit. The Lings of Serral will chase him here. And Serral saturating those gases. But I think RagnaroK may have just seen not as many drones as he expects. He's like, wait a second, that was not full of workers. RagnaroK right now, he's making plenty of Roaches. He's just in Roach production. He's splitting up his units. I mean, he might even cancel that Spire. We'll see. Serral is pushing across this map. The Spire's almost done. Oh, the wall's open. Serral needs to pull those drones to help fight with that. That Roach should help out as well. We'll see how it goes. The Queen is going to fall, as will a couple of drones most likely. Lings here could help as well, and they will do so. Serral, lots of Banelings morphing on the front line. He's got to go right now. Spine's trying to build, but there is 19 defensive Roaches versus 24 Roaches for Serral. Serral's going to smash on into this. There's a lot of Banelings coming forwards. Not that many Zerglings. The Banelings getting okay hits, but nothing to write home about. He's going to go past for the worker line. These Spines getting close to done. RagnaroK with some fantastic macro and defensive positioning. Serral shoving forwards, but RagnaroK pulling the drones here to try and buffer so that his Roaches and his Spines can do some damage. damage. One spine finishes that one, unable to root. Finally, it starts rooting. Roach on the north and the south, both fighting at the same time. Serral finds himself the filling inside a Roach sandwich here. And that is a very, very crucial hold because he's now got a Spire finish. No, he canceled the Spire. He did cancel the Spire, but he's got Roach speed +1 against Serral only now starting the lair. Serral is down 6 workers here, and he's still building Roaches, surprisingly. And he's got so many Lings here. But if he could find something with the Lings, I mean, they are hiding. They're hiding, going around the side of the map. Maybe RagnaroK moves out for a backstab, and the Lings do crucial damage. But he's got to save those Zerglings. If he runs them in while RagnaroK's there, RagnaroK will come back, clean him up, lose next to no drones, and then he'll be able to push and kill you. So as Serral here, I think you've got to be very careful. Serral staying very low on workers, which would be good if there was a serious counterattack coming, which he thinks there is, but there isn't. Serral should send those Lings to the backstab. What's he doing? He saw the Roaches leave. Why isn't he going in for the backstab? He's running in on an awkward angle. Serral wants to surround. Oh, he wants to do what he did in game 1. He wants to go for the Sanger. But it looks like that's a lot of Roaches. The Lings come in from behind, but they're a little bit awkward this time around. Can he land some Biles, maybe? I don't know if he's going to be able to land some Biles. The Biles are not going down. The Lings unable to get the full wraparound this time, even with the Carapace. And it feels like RagnaroK took an okay enough trade, avoided it being a complete disaster. And he's going to be able to pull back and go, of course, for the Mutalisks, which is the next big play here in this game. I think the Mutas is definitely going to be something Serral is not ready for. He's doing nothing but Roaches. He's even building a lot of Zerglings right now, funnily enough. He's going for +1 range, Roach speed. And I think Serral has his mind on hitting a timing about 50 seconds from now with Roach speed. And he's like, you know what? I think I can surround him, Roach Ravage a Ling, land lots of Biles. While there's Lings hold him in position, we'll win this game. Because he says, as long as I hit before +2 range is done, Roaches will take forever to kill my Lings. They'll take 3 shots instead of 2. Obviously, this whole plan does not work when Flappy Boys come out. The Flappy Birds about to pop out of those hatcheries. Serral already sees one of them. He sees another one now, and he's going to feel his heart sink. I mean, he's not even watching. He's not building spores. He's not moving out. The Muta's starting to clean him up. Uh-oh. Serral, what do you even do here? Does he move across the map? It looks like he wants to, but if this Overlord spots him moving out, he's screwed. If he could avoid that Overlord, it would work, but the Overlord sees him. Oh, man, and he's even going to miss the Biles. These Ravages are easy pickings for these Mutalisks. And look at that. RagnaroK has already shift-clicked onto those Ravages. He's got his own Roaches as well, and this is completely all in for Serral. RagnaroK's up 12 workers. He's got Queens, Spines, Roaches all coming to the front line, and that is going to be a big shove for Serral. He goes for this round with the Zerglings, the Roaches and the Ravages trying to get on top. This first Spine Crawler falls, the second one doing very well. I love the fallback micro here. Biles trying to go down, but not enough to actually kill those eggs. They're surviving on 20 hit points. The last Ravager falls. And that looks like those Mutas are just going to rain down far too much damage from the skies. Serral playing a very aggressive plan in this series. Game 1, it went well, but Game 2, RagnaroK shows his mettle and says, I will not bend that easily. Serral is actually turning it a little bit. No, the Mutas. There's too many Mutas and Roaches popping out right now. +2 is also about to finish. Serral's trying to make Hydras right now, which is basically a sign of desperation. If you ever see a Zerg making Hydras to counter Mutas, you're either watching a low-level player, where it's a very valid way of dealing with it, or you're watching a desperate all-in. So, all-in, I mean, big attack wave 1 failed, big attack wave 2. He's basically saying, if I get just enough Hydras to beat the Mutas, I can maybe overwhelm with Roach Hydra. We, of course, know that he is so far on the back foot. RagnaroK survived that with 57 drones. He's got a 4th base on the way. He could do nothing but mass Roach Ravager from here and be fine. He also, if he wants to, could potentially commit super hard to Mutas and swap into Ling Bane, but with +2 coming in, why would you bother doing that? It's just so easy to just have an overwhelming Roach Ravager count and drop those Biles all over those Hydras when push comes to shove. Banelings on the right side, good move by Serral. If you can sneak some Banes into a mineral line, that can definitely get you back in there. Overseer in the backside, another free kill. RagnaroK's trading looking very good. This is nasty for Serral right now. He's trying different waves. I like it that he hasn't given up. He's kind of been dogged. Whereas a lot of the time when Serral's first attack fails, he has one more wave in him. This time you can tell he's got another wave and another wave and another wave. It's a little predictable is the one criticism I'd have of it. And that's why the Mutas were so darned good here for RagnaroK. It was like, well, I don't really know what you're doing behind this. Let's just go Mutas. I know your tech's so far behind. I'll always be into Mutas quicker than you possibly could. That's why it was indeed a good play. Oh, nice micro there on those, the Muta. But the Hydras do gather up. Banelings come in. Roaches say, no way, mate. No way. Not a chance in hell. I wasn't born yesterday. Seeing no 4th base, RagnaroK has an easy decision. He says, well, if you don't have a 4th base, and I do, you're stuck. You can't really do anything. I'm just going to pick around, deny your scouting, keep making roaches, and you're the one who has urgency here. You're the one who is like, oh god, I got to stop him. I got to stop him biting that 4th base, man. RagnaroK's pushing across the map, which is dicey. I don't think he needs to push right now. There's a big economy advantage. He eats his own corrosive biles. RagnaroK with a crazy attack. Does he have the numbers? Oh my. Okay, a few more Hydras coming over from that left side. There are Groove Spines and 1/1 upgrades, but with no +2 range, it's an issue. RagnaroK, as I said, unnecessary engagement and eating his own biles. Showing a bit of overexcitement, over-eagerness, maybe giving Serral an avenue back into this game. The problem, of course, is still that Serral does not have a 4th base or a follow-up play. It is simply a big shove right here, right now. That shove either wins or it doesn't. That is it. There is no complexity to this play. There's no plan C or plan D. We're already at the end of the road for Serral, and it's this push, make it or break it right here, right now. Gets a few Overlords, not really going to be impactful in this fight. The Ravager Biles are going to be absolutely massive against the very slow Hydras. Couple of drones going down to the Mutalisk Harass behind this, trying to distract him. Serral's going to shove in. Let's get a few of those units. Hydras have more raw damage output than Roaches or Ravagers, but they are very fragile at just 90 hit points. 145 for a Roach, 120 for a Ravager. The Ravager having, of course, that artillery as well that it can rain down corrosive bile. I like to think of it as a giant pimple on their back ready to get popped. And they're going to try and eject that Viscera all over onto Serral's army. Serral coming in from 2 sides. I love the positioning, but the numbers are good for RagnaroK. He's got biles going down across multiple sides. Queen's coming forward as well. The biles forcing Serral to spread. Big biles landing on that left flank. And the Roaches are starting to crumble. The Hydras on the right side fall apart. And RagnaroK ties up the series 1-1. Alright. Well, it's not going to be easy pickings for the man that many call the GOAT. It is Serral in the bottom right side. Going for that hatchery. RagnaroK showing he's got some fight left in him. Goes for a hatchery there, and it is Gressman. At this point, I don't think Serral can use that Carapace build again. It does lose efficiency and effectiveness, I should say, when you're doing it over and over and over again. First time noticing the trash heap over here on Gressman. Looks like hatch gas pool. Slightly faster gas for Serral, but no big difference. Serral creating a choke point to put his queen in, whereas RagnaroK just putting it off to the side. I really wonder what the players are going to bring out here. I mean, I got to look at this and say, you know what? Such an important match. Now, the winner of this is likely to play Maru. They play the winner of Maru versus Solar. Maru has a big win rate in that match. And RagnaroK, if he goes through, will be in a pretty bad position. Got 4-0'd rather one-sidedly by Maru in that GSL finals. Serral, on the other hand, has a dominating win record versus Maru. But either way, it all depends on who shows up on the day. And this has been a tournament of all sorts of surprises, and some players overperforming, some underperforming, some living up to the hype, and others falling apart underneath that hype and that pressure that they put on their own shoulders. Serral going for 2 Zerglings. RagnaroK, it's such a big moment as well. Because, I mean, getting the GSL finals was huge. And we know he's not good versus Maru, but dude, if he could take down Serral, what a feather in his cap for his career this would be. To get a top 4 in the global finals, the World Championship, that is huge. Hero Marine made the miracle run last year. He was the big surprise. Everyone was going, my god, Gabe got top 4. RagnaroK might be the Korean version of Hero Marine this year, the guy that can do it. Serral, though, going for a nice quick 3rd base. RagnaroK will be just behind him on that side of the map. This map is rather long, but if you take the 3rd base at the front like they both have, that push distance becomes much shorter. It's really not that long a distance. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe RagnaroK throws the same Carapace build back at him. It's just been such a popular build in ZVZ recently. I feel like the last 6 months, every game, you watch like Dark versus Solar, and it's like Dark's like, I'll do it. And Solar's like, okay, I'll do it next game. And then Dark's like, okay, I'll do it game 3. And you're like, okay, this is just ridiculous. Like, there's always at least one player. The number of times we've seen Carapace Roach versus Carapace Roach is also kind of hilarious. But I definitely think it's a funky meta that we found ourselves in this matchup. I wonder if Mutalisks are in mind early game. So far, it feels like these guys are saying at this level, you can't rush Mutas. You have to play Roach into a Spire. And I can understand that in terms of playing super rock solid, but I also feel like against Serral, he's a guy who's so defensive, you know, you might want to try to get away with it. Then again, he's already opened 2 games hyper aggressively. It would be kind of a crazy play for RagnaroK to do that. Lings rotating around. Sees a few extra Lings for Rag there. Serral's the kind of guy who builds 12 Lings and just leaves them at home to defend. Likes to just be very careful and shut down his opponent's scouting most of the time. He gets a very early Roach Horn. And Roach Horn comes down just a few seconds later for RagnaroK. I guess it's not that early. They've both got their natural full second gas on the way. And ooh, RagnaroK gets in for a scout. That's real good. Run, run, Roo! Run, run, Roo! Let my Zergling bleed through you! Zergling's going to try to get in for Serral, but RagnaroK's been pretty good on door duty there. Hasn't been letting Serral in for any freebies. Lair starts up a few seconds earlier for RagnaroK. Both players playing +1 range. We might be seeing a good old-fashioned Roach War in this game. That's going to be a fascinating game to see who is better in the Roach Wars. Serral actually is one of the kings of tunneling claws. We don't see him get it that often anymore. But I feel like in Roach vs. Roach, you give him tunneling claws and you let him start pushing into 3-4 bases at once, and he's just unstoppable. Notice how he's fake transferring to the third, even though he's not actually committing to a Roach push. Kind of lets a Ling in, but it doesn't see too much. RagnaroK is going to go up to 4 gases a little bit earlier. RagnaroK just constantly trying to scout with these Zerglings. He sees a few Roaches come out. Oh, that might actually scare him. That might actually scare him. He's making Banes on the front as well. Is Serral here? Okay, that Baneling will finish. The Zergling trying to take it out. He's trying to fake forwards. This is a big fake out for Serral, but he's somehow not ahead on drones. He's built 6 Roaches. He's droning behind it. He does get a Spine Crawler reaction out of RagnaroK, but he gets across the map so quickly that he has to just turn around and go home. And RagnaroK should cancel that Spine, go start a 4th base, and he will be ahead in this game. RagnaroK's down 5 workers. He doesn't seem to be making the read. Finally, it dawns on him. Wait a second. Where's that attack? Oh, it's not coming. It was a fake. Cancels it, drops the Spire, and he goes to 6 gases. So RagnaroK's going to try and go Mutas once more. Serral, on the other hand, going Overlord speed. So it looks like we're going to see a handful of Mutas come out, and then Serral's going to use Overlord speed and, of course, try to tech up from there. It will be a situation where he's going to have to try to secure a 4th base. I think this is probably the best option, just because it's close by ground. He's going to try and take the back one, but that's a much further area of creep, so he's going to have to spread his creep up there. I mean, he sees the Spire very early, does Serral, and he even sets up in pervert mode, popping that eyeball out of his head so he can see if the Spire gets cancelled or not. Very good call by Serral. I think Serral should be favored in this situation. He's up 5 workers. He did a nice fake push like Reyna often scares him with. I feel like Serral's so traumatized by that push. He's following the rule of, if your opponent does something against you that ruins you all the time and feels really unfair, you should also do that to other players. The rule of StarCraft strategy. If it pisses you off, it's probably very effective. Use it yourself. Now he's going Hydras. Why is Serral playing Hydras, guys? Hydras is not great. Okay, here's the play. He thinks RagnaroK's not going to build Mutas. So he's basically saying, that's fine. I'll just get a couple of Hydras in case he builds a few Mutas, but nothing more than that. And then I'll just keep playing a standard Roach game with just a few unupgraded Hydras as a just in case. RagnaroK hasn't really saved up money for the Mutas, so that's the right call. Serral got a really good read here. Sees the Spire finished. He's now moving between the bases to try and see if the Mutas are popping. This is really advanced scouting. There's actually a big Roach push coming through on the ground that he needs to pay attention to right now. Serral's supply blocked right now. He's got to be careful, mate. Equal upgrades and similar Roach count, though, so I don't really think RagnaroK can get much done. But if Serral just had a few more Roaches popping here, this would be so bad for RagnaroK. As it is, I think it's going to be a relatively even trade. Nice micro from Rag. I'd like to see these Roaches on the north move down a bit faster for Serral. Oh, I like the way RagnaroK microed this. He might actually get a positive trade, but might be overcommitting here if he stays much longer. 18 Roaches in production. That's what I'm talking about. That's supply block. Imagine if those 18 Roaches, if even half of them were on the field earlier, this would have been a good fight for Serral. But Serral, so focused on doing fancy scouting that he actually got himself supply blocked. Uncharacteristic. We always talk about Serral being so god tier with his scouting, but it is not meant to come at the cost of him messing up on his basic mechanics. And now the Mutas are here. He's so busy with the Roaches. The 10 Mutas came out behind this. You have to be kidding me. Serral is losing this game to a supply block. What a travesty. This is very much not what we expect from Serral. Most players, I would say, you should never be worried about scouting with an Overseer like that to try and catch the Mutas popping. Just focus on your basics at home. Assume they're coming and just, don't focus on that until you've got your basics down. I don't ever need to say that when it comes to pro gamers because they're usually so good at prioritizing, but in this case, Serral was a bit nervous. Remember, he's not that confident in this matchup right now. He's trying to build Hydras out here, but he is taking so much damage because of this, and this is an absolute disaster. All the Hydras are going to go down. The Spore finally finishes. One Mutalisk falls. Two Mutalisks have gone down, but already so much damage being done. My lord. Absolutely devastating. Serral's trying to micro these Hydras. Roach is trying to defend at the front, but RagnaroK gets a Roach shove in there. The fake Spire. Dude, he gets the Spire. He gets scouted. He says, well, I was planning to use that, but I'm not going to. You're going to build Spores. You're going to build Anti-Air, and then I'm going to kill you. You know what? Serral didn't even do it. Serral had the perfect read, but he messed up his mechanics. He'd been a bit higher on the drones. He was being a little greedy, which should have been fine, but the supply block punished him. Now his 2-1 upgrades are finished. His Groove Spines, all these cool upgrades. And RagnaroK is down 2 of those upgrades. But RagnaroK is so far out in the numbers, and RagnaroK knows with his killer instinct that right now he can just shove up here, command his roaches to vomit all over the face of Serral's army, and Serral will be in the dupe. He'll be in the dupe without a paddle. He'll be up Creep City without any way of getting out of there. And this match, Roach Ravager coming. He doesn't have the numbers. He's down 50 army supply. RagnaroK going to shove on in here. Serral getting caught off guard. And RagnaroK shoving on in. Absolutely delectable push timing. Focuses that Ravager down. Another Ravager does come in, but it only lands on a single one of his Ravagers. Nothing to be worried about. Hydra's coming out with Groove Spines, but with no meat shield. Hydras are very much expensive units that are not worth their cost. And Serral has to tap out. All right. Well, he's up 2 games to 1. Only needs 1 more game to finish it off, and it looks like he's going for a 12 pool. RagnaroK here on Ancient Cistern wants to go for a Dirty Boy build. Serral, the top right side. And going for that Overlord on 13, a much more standard style. 12 pool does go down. The question, is he just building Lings to try and deny the hatchery, or will he pull the drones and try to go for the kill move? Both very potentially effective options. Obviously, the pulling the drones, super all in. You're trying to build spines in their base and ruin your opponent. I don't know which of the maps, if any, are actually good for this sort of build. I haven't seen enough games on the new patch and the new map pool to see, like, hey, where is the good map? What's the shortest rushes? I imagine Babylon has a slightly shorter rush distance than this map, so maybe here and Ancient Cistern are the 2 maps where it's possible. And the hatchery does go down. Looks like a hatch gas pool for Serral. Yep. Yeah, very standard. Yeah, you can already see he's going to be going for the gas in the pool. Interestingly, he's going to go spawning pool down here. You can see from the rally position. 6lings do start at home. Drone has not moved to the natural yet. Oh, me oh my. Has he hotkeyed his drones? He has 3 drones on a control group. And there we go. 3 drones moving across this map. He's going to grab a bunch more drones as well. 9 drones on control group 2. Interestingly, he doesn't control group his Lings. He just F2s them and then adds them to control groups on the front line. RagnaroK, interesting micro technique there. Meanwhile, so Serral's got a spawning pool here, which... Oh, because I guess they could build spines here? Oh, so that's what RagnaroK wants to do. Let me guess, he's clicked right there, right? Where are these drones clicked? I'm not sure where he's clicked these drones, guys. I'm trying to figure out where RagnaroK's clicked them. But the thing is, if he could build spines right up against the edge, they can't get surrounded. So Serral knows about this. He sees it coming. And immediately he's going to pull drones at Evo Chamber block. Now, this doesn't stop him from getting in, but he's just stopping him from building spines in these areas up against the spawning pool. He's going to wait for the spines to start just to delay them by a few seconds and stop them building in really good positions. And then he's just going to cancel the Evos, pull the drones back. 6lings on the way as well as 2 queens. Serral trying to get together the defense. This is fantastic micro by Serral so far. He goes for the surround. He gets 1 Zergling there. I think he only got 1. 1 Zergling went down. Another one almost died. A second Zergling died. 3 Zerglings have gone down. RagnaroK. Oh god, he's getting surrounded here. Serral is already going to take down the spine in the north. It doesn't cancel either. RagnaroK excited here on the verge of defeating the greatest player of all time. And he may indeed be making a bit of a hot mess of it. Serral with a clinical defense. He knew that this was an option on this map. He must have seen this before in practice or been aware of it. And RagnaroK gets slapped down. It ain't gonna be that easy, says Serral, going into game number 5 with a clinical defense. We're on altitude. It's a big boy map. This is Serral in the top right. His opponent down here in the bottom left side, it's RagnaroK. Got a little bit antsy there. I think when his spines were blocked by the spawning pool, he was like, oh god, what do I do? And kind of panicked a little bit. Getting a Zergling surrounded and 2 more killed almost instantly just by the drone drill and the Ling swapping was a disaster for him. You've got to keep those units alive as a threat to buy time while those spines finish, but did slip up there. Now, this map is gigantic. Big distance across it, big spread on your bases, amazing for Lings, upgraded Zerglings, Mutalisks, and mobility in general. So I really am curious to see how the players approach it. I feel like if there's ever a map where you're going to be default mode greed, this would be it. On the other hand, sometimes default map greed, big map, that's also where the Nidus all-in comes out, right? That's where the Nidus Roach is just like, lol, you thought you could be a bit greedier. Nidus in the corner of your main, pop Roaches out, and it can be over very, very quickly. RagnaroK and Serral both opening hatchery first here. And we expect, of course, gas with that first drone popping out afterwards. Slightly faster for RagnaroK. He has the slightly closer spawn to the gas geysers, whereas Serral's okay for the minerals, not so good for the gas. GG. Massive spawn advantage to RagnaroK with where that lava's going. Serral's got one Overlord out front his base right now, so he's trying to keep that Overlord back conservatively, whilst RagnaroK is sending both across the map. Serral a little bit worried that there might be the same sort of attack coming in a second time, but on this map, notice the creep doesn't go right to the edge, which means even if he builds spines there, you can still surround them. Not that that is the case here. Spawning pool coming on up. We got that spawning pool almost finished for Serral as well. And this is what it all comes down to for Serral. Can he get his shit together and turn around this story of losing to Korean Zergs? Because he's lost to DRG, he's lost to Solar, 2 players he is massively, massively favored versus. I don't know if he'd ever lost to either of those guys previously until this tournament. They were best of 3s. This is a best of 5, and we can see, I mean, he would have lost this, right? If this was a best of 3, he would have lost 2-1. But now, it's a best of 5, and losing a best of 5 is a completely different thing. Having this extra chance, I think he'll be good. Ling's coming on forward as well. We've got Ling speed on the way for both sides. Drones are building. 2 workers on gas. 2 workers on gas. Okay, nice solid opening for both sides. The Lings are going to cross here through the water. It's got to be icy cold there. I do hope that's shallow enough that it doesn't hit the gonads of those Zerglings. Otherwise, you all know what I'm talking about. It's an icy cold water down at the beach. The moment when you go below waist level into the water is always a bit of a clencher. Bit of a... Sure, it's kind of cold on this map. There is snow going all across it. And Queen's going to come forward to try and defend. Overlord pokes in a little bit. Gets a bit of damage on the hatchery. Nothing too big, though. That Overlord's going to pull on back there. Baneling Nest on both sides. RagnaroK's is actually slightly earlier, but neither side being crazy safe here. Serral, you got to remember to put a drone back on gas. Very easy to forget that if you don't do it about now. So I actually think Serral might forget that for this entire game. I feel like if you don't put it back on by about 3:30, it's just not going to happen. Because now he's actually building a lot of Zerglings. Ooh, Serral, 27 drone Ling Bane pressure. He's going for it. He's going for it. He's got 2 Lings down that right side. Oh, he's got 2 Lings on the right, 2 Lings on the left. Now, the Lings on the left actually win the skirmish, but RagnaroK with some good micro. Now, these Banelings are morphing anyway. I'd like to see Serral morphing some more Banes on that front line. Ling gets into the main. Serral needs to keep his injects up. And he doesn't cue the inject in the main yet. Oh, he's bringing the Queen to the front, interestingly. Maybe a slight mistake on that. Ling Bane coming on. He's going to go after the Queen. Queen on the top left. She's going to go down. Banelings are trading there. I think RagnaroK got some decent ones. The 2 Banes on the left side. Oh, very nice micro for Serral. And that Baneling will go down to those 2 Lings. Gets a third one, actually. Not too bad. But if he can get the Queen, it's all worth it. But RagnaroK comes out with the next reinforcer Lings and does clean that up. Now, that Queen still did not inject at the front. He's moved it over to the third and started injecting. Has Serral. But Serral's slight mismanagement on his macro at home behind this. Despite that, should be working his way into a little bit of a lead. And it looks like RagnaroK does defend. Serral should get slightly out on the workers. And he's got some Ling Bane at home, so he should be okay to defend the counterattack. Third Queen is on the way here for RagnaroK after losing just 1 Queen in that. Units lost tab does tell us that Serral was a little more efficient there. And also the fear factor, the I'm in your face, can really ruin your opponent in that sort of game. Serral setting up another 2 Zerglings, either for scouting or a Baneling run by, not quite sure. And Carapace goes down for RagnaroK. Biggest map in the pool, worst possible map to do a Roach Bane push on. RagnaroK says, and that's why he'll least expect it. RagnaroK already prioritizing surprise over efficiency in this series. He's been doing a very good job of it so far. Remember, Serral was more aggressive, but game 5, There's no way Serral commits to that. Serral's going to go +1 range. He's going to go roach speed, you know, because it's Serral. And when he's under pressure, Serral is basically your classic elitist Zerg player. Think of Idra, think of Liquid Ray. Think of those guys that would say, I want to win with my macro. I want to win the front-on game because I'm better than you. I don't want to gamble on silly attack timings and all-ins or anything like that. And that's what it's been so far for Serral. But there's a lot of banelings here. Watch out, buddy. I mean, he's still applying pressure, but it's all light pressure. Nothing a crazy dark style attack where another 40 Zerglings flood in. It's all light pressure. He gets 3 drones there, guys. Right now, RagnaroK is hiding Mass Roach. He's got 4 Roaches on the way, 1 already out. He's got so much extra Ling Bane he made, though. And Serral sees it. Serral might think it's Mutas. RagnaroK has literally just messed up under the pressure. He sees a Roach. He saw a Roach. I don't know if Serral noticed it. We're going to go Serral's vision. We're going to go Serral's vision and watch this, okay? Serral's being really good on this, guys. This is Serral's vision. He gets a drone. He sees not that many drones. A few Roaches coming out. So Serral sees the Roaches. He's up 15 workers. If Serral just holds the Roach key down from here, he cannot lose this game. He's building a drone. That's not a good sign. He was a little supply blocked, though. Hopefully he goes back to Roaches because he's seen Roaches from his opponent. Yet they haven't moved out yet. And RagnaroK has been moving fake drones to the 3rd base. Watching this from Serral's camera right now. He's building more Roaches and Overlords, so it looks like he's got the read and he should be good. The Ling Bane is not really doing anything for RagnaroK. And for some reason, Serral's going back to droning. I don't know how he's misreading this. He keeps seeing Roaches, but it's so late that he can't believe this is possibly an attack. He sees only 8 drones on the 3rd. His 3rd is full, almost full of mining. He should know at this point, unless he thinks he's way ahead, which he is not. He's traded dead even, that the opponent, he should know that RagnaroK is going for a big all-in. He does build 1 more drone up to 60 workers, which is absolutely mad. He sees more Roaches out front. He sees it. Okay, if he just plonks down some spines, goes Mass Roach, he should be able to defend. But 20 worker advantage is kind of massive. That is a massive army supply advantage, and that's 40 Zerglings with +1 carapace. If Serral doesn't have enough banelings to stop those Zerglings, they will surround his Roaches and absolutely maul them. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Serral, he's only got a few banelings. He's got to be so careful right now. Very cleverly, he does morph more banelings right now. The Roach is coming in. RagnaroK has delayed this so long because Serral was scouting it at every single turn. But he's going to come in with a big surprise wallop. He's down 23 workers in this game. The Roaches, the Lings come in. That first baneling from Serral is devastating. He's doing so much damage. These banelings are destroying RagnaroK's Zerglings, but there's so many more where that came from. Banelings are forcing Serral to split backwards. His Roaches starting to get overrun here. So many Lings on that left flank. Serral may need to pull up his ramp to the right side. The Roaches and the Lings coming in. His Roaches are dying as they pop out right now. He moves to the left. He needs to move to the right. He moved in the wrong direction. Serral gets his Roaches surrounded on the low ground. His other Roaches should still be able to hold. He's still up 20 workers. He's got so many Roaches popping out that I don't think RagnaroK can break him. RagnaroK's push has run out of steam, and Serral types GG. Running out of steam is what I was saying. Maybe a little bit too strong a word, since these Ravages are going to heal up these Roaches, and he's going to have 8 or 9 Roaches on the front plus a Ling rally. That's pretty hard to deal with. But I think what Serral didn't realize in this scenario, guys, is he had 9 Roaches out, 8 more in production. That's 17 Roaches versus about 9 of the opponents, and he could afford to pull up to 30 drones and lose those and still be okay. Even if he ends up a little behind on workers, if he holds the push successfully, he can re-drone very quickly. Even though he's lost all of his queens, he will still be able to rebuild with the advantage of the lair, the advantage of the +1 range, and be ahead. So I saw a Grandmaster player and a few Masters Zergs had tested this together and were practicing it together. I heard that Serral and Lambo were going to do some runs of it when they get a chance and share their findings as well. I saw Lambo saying that he'd asked Serral about it, and Serral said, yeah, one day I'll do that with you, no worries. But I went in and tested it as well, just to solve my own curiosity, and I found that there was one game where it's kind of awkward doing recover from replay if you're not the player who played it, because all the things are on different control groups to what you're used to. And there was one out of 4 games where I practiced it where I fell a little bit behind because after holding the push, I left my door open and I let the Lings backstab me and kill heaps of drones. So I ended up down about 15 supply, maybe a minute after the push ended. All 3 out of the other 4 times, I pulled drones from both sides of the ramp and had to do a bit of back and forth to make sure my units didn't get surrounded. But I found that even if he fully isolated the 3rd base, the Roaches came in from the natural end time. The drones, yes, I'd lose a lot of them, but I'd always end up either equal or ahead on drones and way ahead on army. And then I could restart Roach speed and just get way ahead from there. I think it's really interesting because after doing these run-throughs, it just reminds me so much of that Why Do Pros Leave Games Early video, which I talked about a month ago. You guys can see that down in the description below. We'll link that one up for you. Probably put it on the post-game screen as well, so you can click on that. But we talked about a bunch of different players. We had a a small example of Serral leaving a game too early, but it wasn't really a big one. There were much bigger examples of like Idra, you know, leaving one games and all this sort of stuff. And this is probably the biggest example I've seen of Serral leaving a game where I actually think he was significantly ahead. The important thing to remember though is don't hate on the player. This does not mean Serral has fallen apart mentally. He'd lost to every Korean Zerg player he'd played in the tournament so far, and he was in his own head about it. The crazy thing is that he was so confident and strong against Protoss and Terran and focused so much on those matchups, and I think he just underestimated Zerg practice for this tournament. We heard that him and Reyna weren't really practicing ZVZ because they wanted to hide builds because they were more worried about each other than the rest of the Zerg opposition, and of course they may have ended up paying the price for that. You don't see everything that's going on, and Serral no doubt didn't realize that he had so many roaches about to pop out of his eggs. He was also asked and thought that he was at, he thought RagnaroK was at 45 drones when he was only at 37, so he'd kind of misread the situation in the game, and hell, you could even argue once the banelings blew up, he could have immediately pulled some drones from his natural and his third base to help tank for his roaches. The earlier you pull those, the more tanking they do, and the more they can turn a fight in your favor. But trying to defend without pulling any workers definitely was a big mistake. He clearly misjudged it and just thought, hey, there's no more chance for victory. But the end lesson from that video I did still stands, and that video lesson is, which for all of us, ladder players, tournament players, you should always build a habit of staying in the game for another minute or two and just trying to see what you can make happen. Force your opponent to go through all the motions. You don't need to do anything fancy and crazy. Just keep playing the game and look for a chance to win and just use it as practice of playing from behind. Sometimes you realize there's something that in the fog of war happened that you didn't realize. Your opponent's got way less workers than you thought. Or, hey, oh, I actually have a bunch of units that weren't control group that are over to the side that I can bring in to help out. There's a lot of things that go missing when you're playing blazing fast, most important World Championship tournaments. So I think it's so important for every pro player to build a habit of staying in those games and never giving up. Ultimately, if we take a look at Wikipedia, this changed the entire track of this tournament. For those who don't know, after losing there, Maru rolled RagnaroK and then got rolled by Oliveira in the grand finals. This was such a Cinderella story and such a beautiful moment, and it was so emotional, and I love that Oliveira did it. On the other hand, if Serral did win this series, and I think he was in a very good position to finish that game off versus RagnaroK, he has a 75% series win rate versus Maru, as you can see here in his record, beating him 3-1 the last 3 times they played. I think Serral was actually heavily favored over Maru, and even against Oliveira. Oliveira said he was practicing with Serral 20 games a day and he'd lose every single game. Now, don't get me wrong. Oliveira would have, I think, put up a really good fight because he was in a special place of mental focus and determination. But I also think he would have had to work incredibly hard, and we may have got an epic 4-3 grand finals, whichever way it went, if Serral was able to go through and beat Maru. Of course, we'll never know. That's not the way the tournament went. We can lament all day, oh, Serral could have done this, he could have done that. At the end of the day, Oliveira is our champion and he deserved it. RagnaroK defeated Serral and made it to the top 4 of the World Championship, and he worked hard to deserve that as well. Pro players aren't perfect. I'm still a massive Serral fanboy. And for anyone out there who's saying, oh, this shows his mentality's gone, he's no longer going to be a top player, I think you're absolutely wrong. I really think Serral is still one of the best players in the game, and I think he's going to keep kicking butt. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you're curious to watch some more, check out some of these other videos on the screen. Give them a click and check out the Patreon down below in the description. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.